Hello, Sam here. How are we all doing? Hope we're all doing very well. I want to jump on here and follow up from my previous video in regards to avoidance. Okay, so I wanted to do videos on compulsions that kept me stuck. So avoidance was a big one. So this video now is going to be about reassurance. Okay, how that kept me stuck for so long. And I'll go into examples of how it kept me stuck, certain things that I did, why or how I didn't give it up, and why it kept me stuck, all right, and how it is really a dead end and it's not going to get you anywhere. All right, obviously understand how difficult it is to give it up when it gives you that instant relief or that temporary relief, but you just know long-term recovery, there's no benefit there. No one's going to recover from OCD by reassurance. If they have, I would certainly like to meet them. OCD is going to keep moving the goalposts, keep moving the boundaries. It's going to nestle just out of reach. It's going to morph. Reassurance is really, it is a trap. And like I keep saying, it's not going to get you anywhere. All right, so how did I seek reassurance? The main one, when I was writing these notes down and when I was thinking about this video, I was thinking, what can I really go over? What can I really go into detail? Now, the main form of reassurance that I went down was asking the same question numerous times over and over again, every 5 minutes, or just, I'd ask it and then they'd answer and I'd ask it again. I'd honestly be like that. So yeah, that was a massive one of mine. So I'm gonna give you some examples along my journey. I'm sure stuff you can relate to. But yeah, like I said, there was so much reassurance. So first example, I remember speaking on the phone to a therapist. Now this was probably 2018. It was before I came across the OCD recovery channel or Twitter or Instagram, and I was all quite new to it. I remember knowing a bit about intrusive thoughts. And then that led me down to look at OCD and go, I can relate to that. I get similar thoughts, or yeah, I'm having all the symptoms. So I started looking up OCD. So I called the local doctors, and I remember the introductory call of when you talk about what you're going through, what you're experiencing, what you're suffering. Now, I would ask this lady the same question over and over again, and even worse, I would ask Amy, who's my fiance, to write down notes as she was talking, so every word was noted down, so I could go back, I could read it over and over again, and make sure nothing bad was said, nothing wrong was said. I made sure I understood every word, took it all in. Wow. And yeah, so am I a bad person? I had this thought at a really unwanted time. I mean, during this time, I had really unwanted thoughts during intimacy, when I really least want them, and I would talk about that, and then I would go into panic. I'd go, oh my God, what does she think? Does she think I'm bad? Is she gonna send me to prison? Is she gonna report me? Is she gonna hang up the call? Is she gonna escalate this and get her manager on the phone? All these things, and I'd be asking Amy to write all this down. So like I said, I could then reassure myself later. I could then ask Amy, did she say this? Are you sure she said that? But yeah, wow. I spent so much time asking the same question. That leads me on to Amy. And I used to ask her to write down or the notes in my phone, to put in notes, write them down, so I could then, in a point of crisis, at a point of when I was completely panicking, full of anxiety, crying my eyes out, I could read these notes and go, yeah, everything's okay. And it was when I was really suffering with real event false memory OCD. And I remember the note saying, you haven't done anything wrong. You are not a bad person. You have OCD. Thoughts are thoughts. Things like that. You're the last person to do this. You're the last person to do that. Blah, blah, blah. And poor Amy, because I was so desperate for reassurance. I was begging for it. Okay, and we often compare it to, it is our drug. As an OCD sufferer, reassurance is a drug that we take. So I was absolutely desperate for it. And I'd actually get quite frustrated and quite annoyed if I wasn't given it. All right. Later on in my journey, tough love was massive for me. When Amy started saying things like, no, I'm not going to give you reassurance. Look, it's not going to get you anywhere. Give it 5 minutes and you'll be asking me the same bloody question. All right, so I really needed that tough love. But wow, in my notes was just these ongoing, repetitive notes. The same sentence, the same word. You have not done anything wrong in capital letters. You are the last person. You have OCD. Remember, you have OCD. Things like that. Wow, that was what my notes consisted of on my phone. I have actually got a quote from Amy, which I'm going to read now. I was going to read it later, but I'm actually going to read now. Now I'm talking about that, how Amy used to reassure me. I asked, because we were talking about it the other day, when I was really suffering, and talk about, wow, how I came from that place to where I am now. And just, because we both forget what I was like, which is great. But we sometimes have to go back and cast our minds back and go, do you remember every evening when I was asking you for reassurance, when I was crying my eyes out, rolling around on the floor? Okay, of course, we both want to forget that. Amy certainly wants to forget that. It's not a nice thing to remember for me, but that was the reality of it. So we were talking about that the other day. And this was a direct quote from Amy. All right. And she said, this was in regards to reassurance. She said, it was clear no reassurance would work. Because when I used to give it to you, you'd be relieved for about 5 minutes, and then you'd ruminate on something else, it's morphed to, and then ask for more reassurance. And I said, stop there. That is the perfect quote. And I would like to, from a non-OCD sufferer, that is how it was viewed. Okay, so she was starting to think, okay, he's now going to be happy, he's going to be content, he's going to be relieved, he's going to be pleased for about 5 minutes, and then it would morph to something else. It would nestle just out of reach, find another real event, another false memory, another thought, another theme, something that I hadn't thought of yet. It would chuck that in, and then I'd be asking for reassurance about that. Okay, and I thought that quote was brilliant, and that really explains it from a non-OCD sufferer's perspective, and also how I can totally get that. Seeing other people suffer with OCD, and when you're in the midst of suffering, I can completely see what she means. Okay, so no amount of reassurance is going to satisfy OCD. Nothing's going to be enough. We're always going to be on the hunt for more. We're always going to be on that search for more and craving the drug of reassurance more. So we've got to remember that, all right? It needs to stop. It really doesn't get us anywhere. All right, it is a dead end and it is a trap. Okay, so talking still about asking the same questions over and over again. When I first started getting sessions with Rob, this was summer of 2019. I first came across his Instagram page, and then got in contact and started having one-to-one sessions. But anyway, I used to ask Rob the same questions over and over again. All right, so questions such as, did you have this theme? Did you get these kind of thoughts? Am I the only one with this theme that you're dealing with? How long will it take me to recover? All these questions I used to ask. But it wasn't just asking the one question. He would then answer or not answer because he knew it was reassurance, and I would ask it again in a crafty way or a roundabout way where I'm asking the same question. Okay, so be very crafty asking for that to get my dose of reassurance and to get that relief. And then, boom, like Amy's quote, 5 minutes later, I'll be asking the same thing again. All right. Only when I started to realise that and to know it really wasn't getting me anywhere did I stop seeking reassurance, sitting with the uncomfortable feelings of not having reassurance, not seeking it, because the urge can feel so intense and so real. I appreciate that. But for my long-term recovery and for long-term emotional health, reassurance had to stop. All right. Asking the OCD community or WhatsApp group that I was in, or still am in, over and over again questions of such as, how is everyone else doing? And that was when I was really stuck. I couldn't quite see how people were doing better, or I wanted to see that, look, are we all in the same boat here? Because I felt I was so stuck. I was constantly asking, how are you doing? And that was a way of saying or feeling that, all right, look, we can all ask each other reassurance, because I'm the only one stuck. Sorry, because I'm not the only one stuck. And just asking that every day, how you doing? 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 Just, like I said, just to make sure that I wasn't the only one. All right. Is it just me stuck? Does anyone else get this thought? Anyone else have this theme? Is it normal if? All right. Is this OCD? I was just wondering if all these ways that how these questions start. All right. We've got to be very, very. We've got to be very aware of how OCD can work and how we can chase that reassurance. We've got to be quite wise to that, because, like I said, it can be roundabout, subtle ways. And the guys on this channel, the moderators, we have to be. You can notice it quite quickly, although it might not originally seem like a reassurance question, but you dig deep and you see no, they're actually asking for reassurance there, they're looking for that quick relief, quick fix, and no, that's not going to happen. All right, so that was my main thing, asking questions over and over again. I'm going to go on to another point of reassurance that I did, of how I seeked it, how I chased it, how I asked for it. Now this one, I did lots of check-in, lots and lots of check-in, whether that was mental check-in, physical check-in. I'll give you some examples. So when I was suffering with driving OCD or hit and run OCD, checking the rear view mirror constantly, over and over again. As soon as I go past someone on the street, go past a car that, I drive around a lot of narrow roads or one-way roads, or where you have to stop and someone has to come by, or lots of giveaways. And just checking, was I a bit too close? And just looking behind or looking in my mirror, or asking the passenger, because I was a bit close to that cyclist, was a bit close to that pedestrian, doing that a lot, that checking all the time. I wouldn't be satisfied, no matter how much checking I did, it meant nothing. Or there's 5 seconds of relief, boom, and it would doubt something else. All right, now I know this is quite a stereotypical one, but I did this a lot, and that was checking the ovens off compulsively, and mainly when I was about to go on holiday or leaving. So if I'm leaving the dog for 5-6 hours, and then just making sure the oven's off, because just going down that rabbit hole of what if the house burns down, and just not. Like I said, mainly holidays or big events, fear of it ruining that, or going to work and say you've got a big interview coming up. Oh shit, that interview's going to be ruined because you didn't check if the oven was off. Oh yeah. Checking behind me. When I'm walking around on the street in public, down a busy town centre, a busy high street, checking behind me. I used to put my hands in my pocket a lot. Oh, and I was being worried I might have accidentally touched someone, accidentally barged someone, walked into someone, was I a bit too close to that person? Okay, so checking behind me all the time. Are they looking round? Are they talking about me? Did they think I was a bit too close there? I did that all the time. I remember from a young age I was doing that. From about 14, 15, 16. Checking behind, spend the whole time walking home just like that. Wow. And like I said, the avoidance that I did, which I speak about in my previous video, the reassurance that I did, was the next time put my hands in my pocket so I could get that 100% certainty that I wouldn't accidentally touch them, or wouldn't be too close, or barge them, or elbow them. Wow, that was how I used to live. That was the grip that OCD had me in. All right, checking urges, checking feelings, checking sensations. Checking groinal responses, false attractions, all these things that we check in, mental checking all the time. What does this mean about me? What does that mean about me? Why did that come in then? Why did this urge then? Just analysing, doubting it, checking everything, anything that comes in. All right. Another big one that I did, I was a very big people pleaser. So checking if I haven't offended anyone. I got to a point where I stopped making jokes with people because I was scared I was going to offend someone, and they would report me, lose my job, and then I'd be known in society as I made this horrendous joke, and now I'm scum. The rabbit hole that we go down. Now, if you know me now, if you know me from the WhatsApp groups, I make a lot of jokes. But trust me, that wasn't me when I was suffering with OCD. I used to be so scared of making jokes. Really scared of rejection, people disapproving of me, people getting upset because something I said, or people being really sensitive about what I said, and I'd feel terribly bad. I was already riddled with guilt with POCD, harm OCD, incest OCD, cheating OCD, any guilt-related theme that I had, I was already riddled with that. So I felt like I couldn't possibly take any more guilt with someone being offended, someone being or in disbelief of what I said. All right, so the avoidance there was I stopped making jokes. All right. Another thing that I did was, or when I said I could go on all night, so I could talk about all these different checking things that I did, and there were so many, but this is stuff that I remembered. So I remember checking compulsively about stuff I might have accidentally put in my dog's food or my cat's food. All right, and I'd watch them eat, make sure they're not choking. Or compulsively wash my hands before, just to make sure I've got absolutely nothing on my hands, and just checking their food over and over again. And like I said, watching them eat, making sure that it's all okay. And that's the same with not just pets food, but if I'm cooking food for someone else, just making sure the chicken's cooked. And if you're doubting that, you're then checking 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours time. Are you feeling all right? Your stomach's okay? Checking absolutely everything. All right, it was so exhausting, so tiring when I look back now, but I thought that was the only way of relief. I thought one more check and that'd be it. I've got to watch it now, so let's say I'm going on holiday and my passport, I might check it. I might check it twice just to be 100% sure, and then make sure I'm not checking it again. I'm just taking that risk. Same with locking the car door. I check it once and go, right, that's it. If I leave my car door open, then go down the acceptance route, worked on my belief, so it doesn't latch, but I can feel it initially there, and that urge to check, then I just leave it, let it be then, and it plays out. But I used to 5-6 years ago be in that checking cycle all the time, every moment of every day, just check. There was always a check going on. All right. Links into like the chicken, so checking use by dates on my food, on anything, on the milk, and just if it's slightly close, I would chuck it out. The amount of food that I chucked out because of that, it wasn't even over the use by date. I wouldn't even bother smelling it. I wouldn't even bother trying to, or just looking at it or tasting it. I just chuck it out. Nope, I can't deal with that. And then boom, and that'll be it. I get my relief, and then that's it. But yeah, living like that. You see how the mental prison is getting more and more restricted. All right, with OCD calling the shots and OCD having that upper hand. All right, just want to touch on a video that Nick did on the financial OCD, financial anxiety. I had that quite bad with checking my bank balance compulsively, so I know the exact pence of what my balance was. And yeah, just checking that about 15-20 times a day, just to make sure nothing's come out that I hadn't realised, or I don't want to overspend here because I'm saving here. But yeah, now I've worked on my beliefs, I don't longer have that. It doesn't latch. But yeah, these sort of, I didn't really see it as OCD. I was like, oh, I'm quite money aware, I'm quite sensible, but no, it was really OCD there. That checking and that control and that perfectionist control. All right, I don't want to go on too long, but I've got a few more points I wanted to raise. Confessing to seek reassurance, that's a big one. I've done lots of videos on this channel about confessing, so I'd urge you to go and watch that. But I was stuck with that for very, very long, seeking relief, getting it all off my chest, venting, complaining. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that briefly because I've done lengthy videos on that. So I'd recommend watching that if something that you do a lot is confessing. One more question. Something that I did very, very often. No, one more question. I need that one more. Wow, all the time. All right. Just a quick compulsion from a young age. I didn't know what OCD was, and I have a clue back then. But something that I did was checking or asking people if they still like me. I did that at school a lot. All right, and it goes back to being offended by a joke or offended by something you said, and just asking, "Do you still like me? You still my mate, yeah?" And it's things like that. And that was OCD when I look back now. Oh, that's why about 12, 13, 14 led into my sort of when I was 16, 17, 18. That checking, asking all the time, and it goes into the being approved, being liked. Hence why it would latch onto fears like POCD, harm OCD, because it gets into that rejection, gets into that societal rejection, that disapproval from others, the hatred from others. Okay, so you can see how it stemmed from quite a young age. All right, so I think I'll leave it there. That's 20 minutes. I don't want to go on too long, but I hope that's come into some more details, or explain some more details of how reassurance and OCD sort of intertwined on my journey, and how it really didn't get me anywhere. I was stuck for so long. There's so many different ways, so many different varieties of OCD, of reassurance that kept me stuck. This was just a few examples, but it doesn't just have to be these. It can be all different ways of seeking that relief. And then boom, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a day later, a week later, something else. OCD would find something else, morph, move the goalposts, move the boundaries, and there you are, all here to do it all over again. And just knowing that extra bit of reassurance isn't going to work. View it as a drug. So we need to stop taking that drug. We need to resist the urge. We need to sit with all the uncomfortable feelings that come with not seeking reassurance. Okay, long-term recovery. Your long-term self is truly thanking you there. All right. If you have liked this video, please leave a like. I will do some more videos on compulsions that kept me stuck. Like I said, I've done avoidance and reassurance, but I will do more. Any suggestions for me, any feedback, please leave a comment. That would be greatly appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so. And if you're interested in our services, webinars, WhatsApp groups, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. And we'll get back to you in a timely fashion. Anyway, you take care. Have a lovely rest of the day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you again. Bye-bye.